Hello, everybody. Now that we had a week off, we're back for a little more UFC. It's been a very hectic week for myself. I had some concerns whether or not I was even going to be able to fit this in today. Just been a busy week with the little one starting kindergarten, and just a lot going on at work and just in life in general. But just glad to be back. Um, we got a pretty solid UFC Paris card here. It does start early. It starts same time as college football, so some of you might not, be watching much. But and we did have a couple of fight drop off. The latest one was one I was looking forward to, which was Pitbull versus the newcomer Lanisis Kiata. He's supposed to be a great prospect, but he missed weight. I haven't seen the video of it yet, so I haven't been able to see like by how much, but I'm assuming he must have missed by quite a bit. I'm kind of surprised that Pitbull still didn't do the fight, but it's unfortunate. But here we are. I believe we still got 12 or 13, I think. Maybe 13 fights. There was one late ad of Hardwick versus Fernandez. Hardwick is making his debut. That one could actually be a banger. I see that one staying on the feet. But anyways, let's get into this at the top of the slate. The only female fight on the card, Bannon versus Hughes. This is actually going to be Hughes' first fight where she's been a favorite in the UFC. She's had some close wins, some close losses. Doesn't have the greatest record, but she's been put up against, some competition that's all been a little bit better than her. But I see her to be better everywhere. Bannon's a decent striker, but she has no power at all. And I don't see her getting like a lucky submission or anything like that. I see Hughes being the minute winner on the feet, and actually I see Hughes being the better grappler. The over is minus 475, so I'm not taking it. If you want to put a sprinkle on Hughes inside the distance, I don't hate it. I'm personally not gonna do it, but here, let me at least pull up their two names. But I like Hughes on the money line, and I will have her in a 3-piece money line parlay for people who like to play those at the end of the recording. And then our next one is going to be Gustafsson versus, Fakhretdinov. I don't think I butchered that too bad, but this one here, I think Fakhretdinov's only shot here. Personally, I think it's going to be a submission or bust, but I think Gustafsson's going to have some pretty good pressure striking. I think maybe early on in the fight, Fakhretdinov might get a takedown, but I think as the fight goes on, we're going to see Gustafsson take over and just be the minute winner on the feet. I don't see him getting a knockout. There are some people that say yes, but I see this going all 3 rounds and Gustafsson getting a hard-earned decision win here. And then we got Brad Tavares versus Brychak. I don't even know if Brychak really deserves to be in the UFC. But then, and Brad Tavares is pushing 40 years old, though. So we kind of like want to – this is going to be a no play for me, by the way. But I'm leaning Tavares, even though he's old. And we don't really know what he's got left. He's just been like a gatekeeper, a journeyman for a long time. He's got a lot of fights in the UFC. Brychak will have more power, but Tavares will be better everywhere else. He's going to be the better minute winner on the feet. He's going if it goes to wrestling, he'd be better wrestler, grappler, but it's probably just going to stay on the feet for 3 rounds. And I see this is another fight that I'm leaning all 3 rounds and for Tavares to get the victory. And then we've got Patterson versus Waters. On the feet, this is pretty even. Waters might even have a slight advantage on the feet. But I don't think it's going to stay there. I think Patterson's going to get takedowns, and it may take one, and he may get a submission. Or he may rinse and repeat and end up with 5 or 6 takedowns. But I do like Patterson on the money line. I don't think his money line's that bad either, in the 170 range maybe. So you could actually play that with a single or just something else if you wanted. I didn't personally play it, but I'm not against playing it at all. So I do like Patterson to get the win. And this is one that I went back and forth on. Tybura versus Delia. And this is Delia's UFC debut, coming over from the PFL. Tybura on the feet, it's going to be pretty close, but I don't really think Tybura's got a lot of power. Delia kind of does have a little bit of power, but I kind of think Tybura is going to be able to wrestle. And I'm leaning Tybura to get the win. I just like to fade UFC newcomers. And money is coming in on Delia, though. I'll be honest. I think Tybura is now at plus money. So at plus money, I like it even more. Once again, I did not play that. I'll show you what I did play, though. And this might be a little risky, but I played the big sloppy fatties over 2.5 rounds, plus 110. If you prefer, you can play fight to start round 3 on DraftKings minus 120. Obviously, I don't hate that either. But I'm going to put a unit on over 2.5 rounds at a plus 110. I think it gets there. I think Tybura ends up wrestling in this one. And once again, like I said, I lean his way also. Our next fight on the slate is McKee versus Sola. Another UFC debut. Had to think there for a minute, sorry. This is another fight that's going to be really close. And I had to look at my notes for a second. I think McKee's going to be the more dangerous striker, though. Sola might possibly be the minute winner, but Solo's pretty dangerous. And at plus money, I would lean towards McKee. But it's another fight that I see a lot of these fights going over. Maybe not all 3 rounds, but at least into the second and third. I think this fight's going to stay on the feet. One sneaky play, I did not look at it, I don't think yet. I think his strikes might be in the 58 range, is McKee's significant strikes. That's actually not a bad look if you want to take a dabble with that. And then this one, Sai versus Borralho, I think it's going to be one-way traffic. I think this is just a squash match, or it should be. Sai should be better everywhere, the better striker, the better grappler. I do expect him to take him down, so he's live to get a KO or a submission. I don't mind his inside the distance prop at a minus 140. I am playing him as a parlay piece, though, with a couple others. So stay tuned for that at the end. But I like Sai to dominate and get the victory. Then we got Gomez versus Rushala. This is another one where I don't really hate the Gomez significant strikes either. I see this fight going all 3 rounds. This is one where I do have a play on it. I'll pull that up while I continue talking about the fight. I like this fight to end by unanimous decision at minus 115. I see this staying on the feet. I see Gomez being the better striker, the better minute winner. And I just see him taking over and getting the victory here. So I do like Gomez to get the win. But just in case I'm wrong, I'm going to take fight to end by unanimous decision at minus 115. Let me see what we got next here. We got Hardwick versus Fernandez. Got a lot of unknowns with Hardwick. But from what I came up with, I think this fight stays on the feet. They're both pretty solid strikers. Hardwick doesn't have any power though, but I believe he's going to be the. I don't want to say minute winner. That's just the wrong word, but I think he's going to be the more high volume striker. Fernandez is going to have the most powerful and most rememberable shots though. Fernandez is live to get a KO, but I'm not going to go with that. One sneaky prop that you could look at is Hardwick over 49.5 significant strikes. I haven't played it. I really just don't know enough about him to know whether or not he'll get there, but I think he will, especially with it staying on the feet for all 3 rounds. If it makes it to the 3rd round, I think he definitely gets there. He only needs to get 17 significant strikes per round. I think he gets there, but it's just one of those ones where I'm trying to not make plays that are on the unknown. So I'll probably watch this one and see what happens. But if you want to play it, I definitely don't hate it at all. And then next we got Oki versus Jones. This is another close fight. We have a bunch of really close matchups here that could go either way. It should be fairly even on the feet. Oki does have some power though. I'm going to lean with Oki at plus money. I just don't feel confident in taking Jones at a minus 140, or maybe he's a minus 130 now, but I just don't feel great at that, especially considering I feel like it's going to be a pretty evenly matched fight on the feet once again. But neither one of them are high volume strikers. That's kind of the reason why I'm not taking their significant strike prop over. But it's probably not a bad look also. I do have Oki significant strikes in a parlay though, and I will pull that up at the end. And then we got Bukauskas versus Craig. This is another fight that I think is going to be one-way traffic. As long as Bukauskas isn't stupid and doesn't go to the mat with Craig. Craig is going to try and pull guard. He's going to try and pull him down to the mat with him. And as long as Bukauskas doesn't follow him, he's fine. He's fine to either get a knockout or piece him up for 3 rounds. So this is another great parlay piece of mine, is Bukauskas. Then we've got St. Denis versus Ruffy. This is basically going to come down to, can Ruffy stuff St. Denis takedowns? he's gonna try and get takedowns 100%. If it stays on the feet, then I like Ruffy. If it stays on the feet, I also like Ruffy's significant strike prop at 37.5. Actually, I like that a lot if it stays on the feet. I might put a dabble on a ladder. I might not even do the ladder. I might just take him straight up for like 50 or even 60 and see what it is. He averages 7 significant strikes per minute on the feet. So if it stays on the feet, he's gonna get there unless he gets an early knockout, which I don't really think he will. And he's definitely live for a knockout at some point though. So this fight here, I'm kind of I want to back him because he's a fighting nerd, but I just don't know yet. This is a tough one. I don't really know. No one has really. He hasn't fought anyone that tries and wrestles, so this is a tough one on whether or not he's got any takedown defense at all. I'm hoping that he does, but this is one there where I'm kind of just gonna watch it play out. I think. You could take Ruffy by KO or Saint Denis by submission and see what the odds are. I haven't looked at it, but they're probably not the best. They're probably in the minus 200 range. And then we've got our final fight. I think that's it. Man, that was fast. So we've got Imavov versus Borralho, another fighting nerd. I'm going to lean Borralho in this fight. I think he's going to be the better grappler, and on the feet it is fairly even, but I still give Borralho the edge. I'm just not sure if Borralho's going to even bother to grapple in this one. I don't even know if he needs to, but sorry, just fixing something. So I think he's going to be the minute winner and the better striker also. So I like Borralho. I like the over. I've used the over 2.5 and over 3.5 in a parlay. So I like that a lot. I do like Borralho to get the win. I have not played him, but I would not hate that at all. I think he's a minus 130 range. So you could play that. Or if you wanted to, you could play him over 1.5 rounds and on the money line and probably get plus odds. That's the last one we got. I will pull up my singles. I think these are the singles. No, these are my parlays. So I'm going to try and blow this up a little bit there. So here's what we got. We've got 3 parlays here. My first one's my favorite one. We've got Tavares and Brychek over 1.5 rounds. Tybera, Delajah start round 2. Imavov and Borralho over 2.5 rounds. If for some reason you don't want to have a single on Tybera's over 2.5 round prop and to start round 2, you could change up the start round 2 with Gomez over 1.5 rounds, or trying to just take a quick look here. Gustafsson over 1.5 rounds or something like that. And I'm sure it will be similar odds. I'm going to have like 2.1 units on this to profit 2 units. So that's my favorite parlay. And I've been trying to do these significant strike parlays. And this is the one I came up with for this week. We've got McKee 30 plus significant strikes, Oki 30 plus, Borralho 40 plus, and Bukauskas to have the most significant strikes in his fight, plus 144. I actually took Borralho out, and it's a plus 106. I played that. I put a little sprinkle on the plus 144, but the reason why I played the plus 106 is because if you wanted to, you could actually hedge the last one because Bukauskas is like a minus 270 to have the most. But that's what I did. And then I threw together one money line parlay just for those that, might live in Florida and can't do these other parlays and things like that. I got Hughes on the money line, Cy on the money line, and Bukauskas on the money line plus 102. If you can do double method on Bukauskas and bring the odds down on KO slash decision, I don't mind that either. There. And then I've got one little Hail Mary parlay. I'm going to pull this up on the ticker, and then I'll pull up my singles. I've only got a couple singles, so there's not much to go through on those anyways. This is 5 fights to end by unanimous decision plus 5,000. I literally put like $4 on it, to profit like 200. And if it comes down to the last fight, then I'll hedge it, for a guaranteed profit. We have the Gomez fight, the Imavov fight, the McKee fight, the Tybura fight, and the Tavares fight. All 5 of those fights have to end by unanimous decision. It doesn't matter who wins in those fights. It just has to end by unanimous decision. It's just something fun to do, I've hit one of these. I've come close on a couple others. So, I just do them for a little sprinkle. That's all. And then I've got, these are my singles. And I'll go back to the full screen on this again. I've got Tybura Delaja over 2.5 rounds, plus 110. I got the Gomez versus Borralho fight to end in unanimous decision, minus 115. Then here's a couple to consider. Hardwick over 49.5 significant strikes, minus 115. Ruffy over 37.5, minus 115. I actually think I'm going to play that. I might see what it is on FanDuel to see if it's better odds. I know on Bet Rivers it was over 38.5, so DraftKings had the best line so far. Those are my plays for UFC Paris Fight Night, Imavov versus Borralho. I hope everyone enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them in the chat. Please give me a like if you could. And I'm also on Twitter sometimes. And I do have a small little Discord that I started. And if anyone's interested in joining it, please reach out to me and I can send you the link. Thank you very much. And I hope everybody has a great weekend.